Welcome to Everyday Martial Artist, a weekly podcast where you'll join me, Brian Doucette, as I interview a different martial artist each episode and hear their story. Some guests you may have heard of, and some you probably haven't. Be sure to subscribe where all your favorite podcasts are available. Also visit our website at everydaymartialartist.com. If you're listening for a specific interview, I sure hope you'll stay and check out the other episodes. A very special thank you to Topher Williams for our custom theme music. And now, the newest episode of Everyday Martial Artist. Everyday Martial Artist is brought to you by KOOnline.com for all your martial arts needs. Sparring and safety gear, rank belts, uniforms, weapons, patches, and more. Wholesale supplies made by martial artists for martial artists. Visit us today at ko-online.com. Hello and welcome to the Everyday Martial Artist Podcast. I'm your host, Brian Doucette, and as we do every week, we're joined by a brand new guest talking about their life and their journey throughout the world of martial arts. My guest today is a lifelong martial artist and cybersecurity risk manager. He's trained in numerous styles over the years, including Kenpo, Taekwondo, and Jiu-Jitsu. He started training at 10th Planet Jiu-Jitsu in Phoenix and received his black belt in 2021 and plans on opening his own school in Denton, Texas in 2024. He's been married for 16 years and has two wonderful kids. Please welcome my guest today, Mr. Donald Daubert. How are you doing today, sir?
I'm doing great. How about yourself?
I'm doing good. You know, it's a Sunday morning. I'm in, I don't know if you knew that, but I'm in Moorhead, Minnesota, and we got only our second round of snow yesterday, which is, for us, is weird. We're right across the river from Fargo, North Dakota, and usually by now we got a couple feet. So it's been a nice fall, early winter, because I don't like snow. So it's good. It's cold.
Well, we had our coldest day of the year so far. It got freezing last night. Trying to stay bundled up today.
I know you said you listened to a couple episodes, so you kind of know where we kick things off. I want to go back to that very beginning. I want to know, where that first spark came from, that first interest in martial arts that kind of kicked off your journey.
Well, probably like familial. My uncle was the all Marine Corps, all services boxing champion at like 145.
Oh, wow.
Back in the 70s and 80s. Yeah, he was actually supposed to go to the Olympics, but it was 1980. So he boycotted that year.
Yep.
And side note, he never made the transition to professional very well because he was, it's such a different from, going to the body to becoming a headhunter. And he ended up taking a lot of damage.
Okay.
And so he actually recently passed from complications with pugilistic dementia. But yeah, so I mean, starting it off on the down note, but yeah, that's where it came from. And then, we moved a lot. My parents were always trying to find the best new thing, back then. And then it really started when I was 11, and my friend Matt took me to Muay Thai Kenpo in Nashua, New Hampshire, and very traditional martial arts school. A lot of standing in deep horse stances, doing punches and that kind of thing. And yeah, I just loved it. That's where I got my start. But I actually kept with it, not in any sort of like traditional program, but I went to high school with two of my still today best friends. Twins actually, and we did a lot of boxing and wrestling and watching UFC and then trying to practice those moves on each other and yeah. So
I'm not familiar with Muay Thai Kempo. Now, how is that? Do you know how that is compared to other styles of Kempo? Or
I honestly have no clue.
Okay.
I was 11 years old at the time, and
how long did you stick with that?
Well, we only lived there for a year.
Okay.
So I was only with that for about 6 months. I think I made it to like orange belt or something.
Okay.
But, I always had, like, my friends, we were always, boxing in the garage, and they had a speed bag that we'd work on, or, punches, kicks, takedowns, and then go for the crappiest armbar you've ever seen in your life, like that kind of stuff. So, that's really probably where the passion came from, was just, living that for so long.
Okay.
And then when it really started off, my more professional career, if you will, I use quotey fingers for that for sure. I started taking Taekwondo at this sort of McDojo-y place in Phoenix, Arizona.
Okay.
So we moved to Phoenix by that time. And, I'd been there for a while, about a year or so, but I was going every day, and so the instructors picked up on that and started using me to teach. And help with classes and things like that. But it was still, the quality was not there.
Okay.
But they wanted...
How old were you at this time?
17, 18.
Okay.
About then. Yeah, 17, I'd say. But so I was there for about a year or two, I guess. And they wanted to, I don't know, give themselves a little more clout, a little more credit, and up the quality a little bit. And so they brought in this guy, someone to help up the quality, a master instructor, if you will. And you may have heard of him, Master Francis Pineda.
Oh.
And
yes.
And from then on, we became friends. He's one of my best friends to this day. And we're both like groomsmen at each other's wedding. And so between martial arts, video games, computer stuff, we just clicked.
Yeah, he's a computer guy too. We had a nice chat about that when I interviewed him. So
yes,
we had similar childhoods with the old school technology.
I mean, same here. He was actually the one who taught me to build my first computer.
Nice.
And which really eventually led to me becoming an IT person. So yeah, I mean, I can't talk about my martial arts journey or even my IT journey without mentioning Francis. So
okay.
Big shout out to him. But yeah, so I was trying to get a job there. I was just teaching for free. And then when they brought in Master Pineda, it was, that looked less likely. And so then I joined the military and I joined the Navy. I did that for 7 years. But, this was late 90s. Martial arts was still very, I don't know, secretive or not secret, like everybody was trying to be protectionist about their schools.
Yeah.
There wasn't a lot of sharing and so I kind of took a break from martial arts for a long time.
Okay.
I'd still come back home and, be around everything. So I was actually stationed on the East Coast for the most part. And that's where Master Pineda lived. But so while he was in Phoenix, he would fly home for like Christmas and Thanksgiving and everything in Washington, D.C. And so we were able to I spent a lot of holidays with him when I couldn't get away myself.
Okay.
And so through that, I met Junri many, many times.
Nice.
And, and then Chun-Ri and that whole clan. And, I've had this really, I don't know, like a really charmed life when it comes to martial arts. I've been able to meet so many people and so many famous people and so many great martial artists. Mm-hmm. And yeah, I had kind of transition into this. One of my actual favorite stories is that in 2000, we went to the second annual Korean American Taekwondo Exchange.
Okay.
And so we went to Korea with Grandmaster Ri.
Wow.
And at the time, they happened to be, there's like a Taekwondo, there's a huge Taekwondo park, sort of like a mecca of Taekwondo that they were making in Korea. Mm-hmm. And they were sort of lobbying for it and trying to get, funding and that kind of thing. And obviously, Grandmaster Ri commands, a lot of American dollars, a lot of American clout. And so when we got there, we were treated like royalty. Nice. It was amazing. I mean, I had dinner with Grandmaster Ri, mayors, governors, and some of the best meals I've had in my life happened on that trip.
That's cool.
Yeah. And we actually had several celebrities come with us on that trip too. Don the Dragon Wilson was there. Chris Penn was with him.
Very cool.
And then Jesse Jackson Jr. and then a former Speaker of the House, Toby Roth.
Wow.
Yeah. So it was, and we're just sort of tagging along. And Francis and I had realized that everything in Korean is sort of communal. Mm-hmm. Like when you talk about eating, the grabbing the kimchi bowls or the bean sprouts or whatever, it's all sort of like 4-person play set. And we realized that these 2 younger girls in their 11 and 12, they would only eat rice basically in the entire trip. Mm-hmm. So we sat them next to us, and I think we gained probably 10 pounds apiece during that whole trip, just eating amazing bulgogi and japchae. And, it was so good.
That's cool.
So good.
Wow,
But,
that's fun. I've had many opportunities to go to Korea. It's never worked out. So I've never got to go with my instructor. So many times I wish I could have. It just either financially or with my job or other stuff in my life. I never got to go. So that's quite an experience that you got to have there.
I would say do it if you can. It's a beautiful country. One of my favorite spots there was Jeju Island off the southern coast, and it's just this green emerald in the middle of the Pacific. And yeah, there's the largest Buddhist monastery in all of, well, at the time in all of Asia.
Mm-hmm.
And we got to stay the night in there. The monks did a martial arts performance for us, and then one of the fastest bow forms I've ever seen. This dude was whipping this bow around like lightning. It was amazing.
Had you achieved your black belt at this point?
Maybe. I don't consider it. Well, I was teaching and they gave me a black belt.
Mm-hmm.
They called it a SWAT belt at the time. It was and basically I just helped with teaching. I think I would have at the time maybe considered myself like a brown belt at most.
Okay.
But I've been treading a lot on Master Kanina's cred throughout the years, right? Because, you get to hang out with the 7th degree black belt, pretty cool.
That's cool.
A funny side story. So that summer, that was summer 2000, I went to Korea, hung out with Jesse Jackson Jr. and his wife and his kids and everything like that. And the next summer, I was doing a security detail in Puerto Rico. The military had a bombing range on Vieques Island, in Puerto Rico, and there were a lot of protesters there. So I was sent to help, do security and, all this stuff. But the federal judge who was in charge of sentencing the trespassers and protesters, he totally revamped the punishment. So it used to be just like a $500 fine.
Mm-hmm.
But people if you got your name on this list, these nonprofits would just pay your fine. And so then it became okay, first time 500, second time 10,000, third time 3 months in jail.
Wow.
And so we basically got there and we had 2 waves of protesters and then everything stopped after that. But one of the protesters who I detained happened to be Jesse Jackson Jr.'s mom, Jacqueline Brown.
Wow.
So, yeah, it was wow, this is a small world. So.
Wow. That's kind of funny.
It is. It kind of is.
Did you tell her you knew her son?
No, I didn't want to be, I was scared at the time, and I was only a E4, E5, so I didn't have that kind of clout.
As you're putting the cuffs on, by the way, I know your son. Say hi to him for me.
Yeah.
Probably wouldn't have gone over well.
Probably wouldn't.
And you said you were in Navy for 7 years. Now, was it that long before you really got back into martial arts hardcore then?
So I would say that I've always been in it on the periphery during that time, but it wasn't until, so I got out in 2004 and then, got back into school and had a family during that time. And so it actually wasn't until 2012 that I really got back into it. Yeah. Okay. So I'm 34 at the time. I just started a job with a networking firm, and I was doing SQL. I don't get technical into it, but but what they did is they blocked all our music access. And we're doing a lot of data entry and a lot of stuff, and do this mind-numbing work. And they realized, oh yeah, now you can't have any music.
Wow.
It was a death blow to me. But we had the IT guy for the firm. And there's a very small firm, so we're all friends and everything. And he's like, so hey, they told me to stop streaming music, but I'm going to leave podcasts on. And just be cool, don't overdo it, but and everything will be cool. And that's when I started listening to the Joe Rogan Experience.
Okay.
And so you might start putting that spider web together now. But and I listened to the first 226 episodes, and he had Eddie Bravo on there, and Eddie Bravo is the first person to ever tap a Gracie in competition.
Yep.
And he, and he's Joe Rogan's friend and all that, and Joe Rogan's instructor. And so he was on the podcast all the time. And, but anyway, so I started listening to Joe Rogan, but they never talked about franchises. And I always thought like, man, I really want to do this Eddie Bravo thing. Like, it just seems so cool. It's flashy, but yet very technical. And being from martial arts, I know that it's so much about the instructor, right? And
yes.
Like, I looked at other jiu-jitsu schools around the valley, the Phoenix Valley at the time. But as a 34-year-old, I really didn't have an interest in putting on pajamas and calling a 26-year-old dude master. I was really looking for more of like a coaching, coach athlete kind of aspect.
Mm-hmm.
And then in episode 227 of JRE, they ended it. It was Eddie Bravo was on it, and he ended it saying, "I'm going to be at 10th Planet Phoenix to do a seminar." And I, pardon my French, but I literally like shouted in my cubicle, like, "There's fucking franchises!" And a couple people like looked at me and like weird. Oh, sorry. But that was May 2012, and I was in that night, and I never left.
Wow.
So went to 10th Planet Phoenix that night. By the way, before I get too far, I have to give a shout out to my wife. When your husband comes to you and you have a 2-year-old and a 6-month-old and says, "Hey, I would like to leave 2 nights a week to go do this thing where I play Fight Club with a bunch of other sweaty dudes," she could have said no, and she didn't. She was very supportive of it, and I think she knew I needed some physical outlet, and I wasn't going to get there like running. If you see me running, you really better run too, because there's only danger behind me. That's the only time that I'm at the time was running. So I actually walked into the gym at almost 300 pounds at the time.
Oh, wow.
I had been on a night shift prior to getting this job, and just the only thing available to you at 1 a.m. is a Baconator from Wendy's, So it was not, my hormones were messed up, my triglyceride, like everything. I was in a bad way. But I walked into that gym, and this little 135-pound dude, John Botello, he's Eddie Bravo's first affiliate, and it was in Phoenix. And that night, he put me into a crucifix, and he was arm-barring me with his legs while he was choking me with his arms, all at the same time.
Nice.
And I'm like struggling to even tap because I don't have hands. Like, I think one hand's trapped under me, and I let out this like weak like gurgle. He's like, "Was that a tap?" I'm like, yeah. And after it, he's like, "So what is it, arm or the choke?" I'm like, "Can it be both?" Yeah. So, but I fell in love with that. I mean, I was like, "You got to show me what you did." Like, that's kind of how it's been ever since.
That's cool.
Started there. I got to about purple belt. So I've been in for 4 or 5 years. I think about 5 years. I think at that time, and then I really started, figuring things out, diet wise and exercise wise and all that kind of thing. So I was competing, but I couldn't get my head into that. But yeah, so it took me a bit. Like it took me a bit to figure it out. But once I did, man, it's been a game changer. Having a better diet, being in control of your life a little bit more. Let me tell you, people treat you considerably differently when you're a big mess versus a fit person.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I'm one of the best things that jiu-jitsu has done. And, part of that was like, because I needed that something to motivate me, right? That something to drive me.
Right.
Jiu-jitsu was that. And so now I do run and now I work out all the time, and I'm stair climbers and treadmills and all that kind of stuff.
Wow.
I got my kids into it and yeah, but I think so many people, need something like, because just running on a treadmill, going to the gym to do that, just to do it is kind of soul crushing. And, so, when somebody out muscles me in an armbar or something like that, I'm like, that's never going to happen again. And I'm in the gym the next day, doing bicep curls because they extended my arm, like whatever. So yeah, that's how I got into it.
Wow. And how long did you get to train at that school? Because I know you said you recently moved to Texas. So how long did you get to stay at that school?
I did. Let's see, we moved in July of 2021.
Okay.
So I was there from white to brown and just a couple months before my black belt.
Okay.
And so when I moved out here, 10th Planet is one of the biggest affiliations for jiu-jitsu in the world now.
Yeah.
I think Eddie has something like 180 affiliates now.
Wow.
And it's insane. I mean, I started at the first one, and now there's 180 other ones. But so when I moved to the DFW area, it was really easy. I found one of my friends now, Chauncey Nusalia. He's the owner of 10th Planet Dallas, and been training there ever since. Went back in October of 21 for a friend's wedding, and at that time I got my black belt with two of my other friends, one of whom actually opened 10th Planet Goodyear in Arizona. So from white to black under 10th Planet Jiu-Jitsu, and I couldn't be happier about that.
So you had I mentioned in the intro that you're planning on opening your own school now in Denton. What kind of led to that decision?
Well, so I have to say this is the first public announcement of 10th Planet Denton. It's been very, we're building it up, but we've been talking about it. Like my wife and I have been talking about it for a long time, and so our move to Dallas was actually predicated on us wanting a change. Mm-hmm. Like we couldn't afford getting a house in Phoenix any longer because things just blew up out there during the pandemic.
Yep.
There's something like 800 people a week moving to the Phoenix area. Wow. And so housing prices tripled. And so we said, we've been talking about moving for a while, but we're just, we're in the safety zone. We had our parents in Phoenix with us and all that kind of stuff. And we took the leap, got a house out here in Denton. And Denton's a college town kind of north of the DFW area.
Okay.
DFW has kind of grown up to get it, but it's a college town. There's two universities here. And so I think that leap has kind of shown us that, leaps aren't bad sometimes. And so, once we got here, we've been talking about, I've wanted to do this for forever. As long as I can remember, I've wanted to open a martial arts studio of my own. And then the second thing is in October, I got laid off from my job.
Okay.
Part of that whole tech industry layoff. And, it is what it is. But we said, I think it's time. And it is. So we're working on our lease right now. And, I'm going to get to do what I love on my own. I've been helping people teach for years. Mm-hmm. And I'm totally cool with it. I thank them every day for the opportunities that they gave me. But sometimes you want to move out on your own,
Yeah.
So that's what we're doing. We're doing, hoping February.
Okay.
February or March we'll be opening.
That's awesome. Wow.
Yeah.
I'm hoping. I got a good friend in Dallas that I've been meaning to go down and visit for like 10 years. And I've never gotten down there. So maybe I'll have multiple reasons to go visit Dallas now. I can pop in and check out your school.
Absolutely. Please do.
That'd be cool. So you mentioned, helping others teach for years. So I want you to think back to that very first time teaching when you were with the Taekwondo school to now. What do you think has changed the most about your teaching style over the years?
Well, so patience is definitely a big one. Understanding that other people may not have the goals that I do. My goal is to be the best martial artist I can be. And some people are just looking to, have fun, train, have camaraderie.
Yep.
So, you need to take that into account as well. And actually, most recently, I've been getting into, they're calling it ecological training or eco training.
Okay.
And it's really more of a gamification of training, right? And so that has definitely changed for me. So like a typical game may be something like where we have one person on their knees and one person on their butt. The person on their butt has a butterfly guard in, and we're just going to fight for underhooks for 3 minutes. If the person on top can get both underhooks and put the person on his back, then they win. If the other person gets a body lock, gets both underhooks and gets their hands together, then they win.
Okay.
And so we're trying to break it down into more basic steps, but instead of giving the people like, okay, first you're going to do A, then you're going to do B, then you're going to do C, with different people and different body types and all that kind of stuff, that gets ABC may not be the perfect way for them.
Right.
It may not be the best way. And so by letting them have multitudes of reps on reps of just how do I get to a position of control? How do I get to a position of safety? That it allows us to make different neural connections is really what it is. And so been having a really interesting time seeing people progress with this new, training method. And I will say, I still do a lot of, okay, we're going to rep this move today, or we're going to, go through this sequence or whatever. But, it's just finding a balance between those two styles. So
that's cool. Yeah, I know it's something my instructor started incorporating games like that into our at traditional Taekwondo school years ago. And some of them I enjoy, some of them I don't. But my favorite one, used to do one with turning sidekicks, where we'd lay a white belt on the ground, and one person would be holding one of the big blue kicking shields with their back foot against the white belt, and the other person got 5 tries with a turning sidekick. If you could kick them over that white belt in 5 tries, they had to do 10 push-ups. If they prevented you from kicking them over, you had to do 10. And we go back and forth doing that with different people in class and tried to match them up decent size-wise and stuff. And I love turning sidekicks. So it's one of my favorite games to play in class. And it's worked on the power, it worked on the technique. I mean, you can see some guys could kick as hard as they wanted, but they weren't doing it properly. They were hitting with the wrong part of their foot. There's no way they're kicking them over. So that was a fun one.
Right. And I think you get that immediate feedback.
Yes.
Right. Too. Right. With those games is that, that didn't work. Why didn't that work? Well, that didn't work because he wasn't off balance. That didn't work because he wasn't, whatever. And I think that's really important in making those, those neural connections at that point is, I've been reading a bunch on this, and it may not be that the best way to learn is to do the 10,000 reps right in a row, but to do a little bit of one thing, do something slightly different, and then come back to that first set.
Right.
And it's
a good way to look at it. I
again,
like that.
Yeah, it's new to me still. I'm still getting it all down and trying to figure out some games, and so sometimes I still revert back to some traditional teaching methods. But yeah.
Being that it's an affiliate of Temp now, are you allowed to? I don't know how the rules are with Eddie Bravo, but can you ever incorporate any of your Taekwondo stuff in there? Can you work on kicks and stuff to blend it a little, or is it going to be strictly jiu-jitsu?
Well, I'm going to be doing strictly jiu-jitsu.
Okay.
One of my friends who actually owns 10th Planet Fort Worth, 40 miles down the street from me, he is a 10th Planet school, but his focus is mostly on MMA.
Okay.
He was an MMA fighter, and so really, it's not necessarily an affiliate that we are. It's a licensing agreement that we're doing, and so you can do what you want with your school as long as you are a black belt in 10th Planet Jiu-Jitsu, and you can get away with whatever you want.
That's good, though. Well, as soon as you have a link for the school, you have the Facebook link, website, whatever, you have to send it to me so I can include it with the podcast.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, we're still working on the lease, and until I have the lease, I can't. Everything cascades from there. So, but hopefully this week, I'm really hoping
that'll be good.
That
Francis mentioned that you got to roll with John Jones.
Oh yes, yeah.
Talk a little bit about that. That's kind of cool.
It is. And I'll say I have been treading on this story for the last 7 years because it's probably one of the greatest things that ever happened to me.
Oh, yeah.
So there was a tournament at a fitness expo. So the North American Grappling Association, they had a tournament, and I love when they have these fitness expo tournaments. There's some of my favorite to go to. Because there's they'll have CrossFit competitions going on, and they'll have boosts with protein powder and pre-workout, and right before your match you can run down the line and just take shots of 10 different pre-workouts, and so you're amped up and ready to go. And so this just so happened is November 2016, and this was during John Jones' first hiatus for martial arts, if you will.
Okay.
And I think this is the time when he get in that car accident. He was in trouble for some sort of drugs, right? And so he was actually there at the fitness expo, hawking protein powders and pre-workouts and just being a celebrity endorser kind of thing. And I had 2 divisions that day. I'm pretty sure I won the absolute division, and I think I was second in my weight class. And so the tournament was actually over, and I was, waiting around on all my friends and students and whatever to finish up their matches. And we see John Jones like duck into a changing tent at the Naga booth. And he comes out, he's got rash guard and shorts on. I'm like, let's go talk to him real quick. So we went up. Hey, John, if you're ever in Phoenix and you need somebody DC shaped to roll with, DC, I met Daniel Cormier, and I kind of stuck the belly out a little bit. Daniel kind of has a little bit of belly back then, and so I, stuck my belly out and gave it a little Buddha rub, and he loved that. He like bent over laughing, and he's like, "I'm gonna roll with that guy." Nice. I was like, "What did I do?" But yeah, it was eye opening. That's for sure. You wanna know that you are not the biggest, baddest man on the planet. Like, just go roll with that guy a little bit. I tried my best. I did the one thing is he did a super duck to try to gab my leg, and I saw it coming, so I stepped back. But then he like spammed it like a video game and hit it right again. Had my leg up over my head. I was like, well, there's nothing I can really do. So I tried to do like a scissor takedown, like the Kane Basame scissor sweep takedown. And that failed horribly. So then I had hold of his hand, and I was like, okay, I'm going to just try for a wrist lock. And so I bounded up, and I was trying to get the wrist lock, and that went horribly too. And then he posts out on me. Like, he puts his hands on me and holds me down like a child. And I'm trying to make contact with him, like put my hands back on him so I can figure out where he's going and whatever. And I can't touch him. And not even like by a little bit, like I can't touch him. Like there's 6 inches before I can even touch him.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's cool.
It ended pretty horribly for me after that. I will say, I got guillotined to, I don't know, my credit or detriment. I don't know. I had the thought as I'm getting choked out. I was like, you know what? You need to fight through this. And if you go out, whatever, you go out. If you go out, I guarantee you're getting on SportsCenter. Like having this conversation in my head at a time. But then I remembered that my wife and kids were attending this tournament, and this is the first tournament that they actually the first and only tournament that they've ever gone to of mine.
Okay.
And I was like, oh, if I look like I'm dead on the mat, I think my wife might have a heart attack, and then I may never be able to do jiu-jitsu again. So I tapped, but could have been on SportsCenter. Who knows?
Dang. So did you tell John I only tapped because my wife was here?
No, I did not.
Okay.
No, I did not.
Probably smart. That's definitely an experience to be able to tell people. That's kind of cool.
Well, and one of the coolest things about jiu-jitsu is that it's a pretty small community. Mm-hmm. And I mean, it's getting bigger, obviously, much more. But realistically, you can kind of go to, if you have, a little bit of chops, high level white belt, blue belt, like that kind of thing, you can roll with anybody. Right? You can, and I mean anybody. And over the years, I have gotten to roll with so many UFC fighters and so many high level black belts, and just because you're there, you show up to an open mat, and I go down to Austin every so often. There's a 10th Planet in Austin, and the Sunday open mat that they have there is amazing because Austin has sort of become this mecca of jiu-jitsu, right? It's, you got 3 of the best teams in the world are now in Austin, Texas.
Wow.
And so, I can name names, but like Nicky Ryan, J-Rod, all kinds of people just show up to this open mat. And you ask them to roll, and most of the time they won't say no.
That's cool.
I will say, let me sort of backtrack here just a second. One of the really cool things that being in Phoenix and now in Dallas is that when I started jiu-jitsu, there was like the headquarters of all jiu-jitsu, like, I keep saying the term Mecca, but was Southern California, right? Mm-hmm. And you go to San Diego and you can't throw a rock without hitting a world champion school out there. And so because we were in such close proximity with Phoenix, I got to see a lot of that growth. I got to see Gio Martinez and Boogie Martinez, from 10th Planet, like they would come out to Phoenix and, train with us or do tournaments. And so, got to be kind of part of that. And then really not on purpose, but when we moved to Dallas it's the same way, because that hub of jiu-jitsu has kind of shifted a little bit.
Okay.
And so it's really amazing. Like I said, you can just being so close to it, but not but still having a little separation from, those major schools has been pretty cool.
So I know you mentioned when you were younger, you and friends, watching UFC and mimicking the moves and stuff. So are you still a fan of like UFC and MMA?
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. I don't follow it nearly as much anymore because I just don't have time. My focus, if I'm going to watch sports, it's probably going to be competitive jiu-jitsu, and especially no-gi.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I still follow it. If you see big submissions or, that kind of stuff, I try to keep my teaching style a little current. So if there's, a big submission in the UFC or, something that's going viral from jiu-jitsu tournaments, then I make sure to, hey, we're going to work on this a little bit tonight, just because everybody's seeing, everybody's asking. But yeah, I wouldn't, ever since the, probably the first 10, 12 seasons of The Ultimate Fighter, I was definitely really into it. But after then, jiu-jitsu started taking off. And so there's now enough content that I can kind of watch jiu-jitsu forever.
Okay. You spent some time with Junior and stuff, and philosophy was something that he was really big on. Just in all your years of martial arts, is there one philosophy for you that stands out?
Well, I mean, the biggest one is probably Bruce Lee, right? When I was 11, 12, during that, first getting into martial arts, I would definitely go to the library all the time and check out every martial arts book I could think of or that they had, basically.
Mm-hmm.
And so the basic principle is try and take what works, discard what doesn't, and make it all your own. And I think that's just life in general. Find what works for you, and whatever doesn't, get rid of it. If you don't need that, I won't say, sometimes you need to revisit those sometimes here and there to make sure, it still isn't useful for you. And I've definitely made that change over the years I had a very good friend who taught me some pretty cool judo throws back in the day, no-gi judo throws when we first started. And I was like, I'm never going to use that stuff. And now I'm using it all the time. The Uchimata, Japanese wizards, and most recently I took a seminar from Justin Flores.
Okay.
And there's a master class on foot sweep. And that dude is so amazing. It's just a dance. That's all he's doing. He's just dancing around you and putting you on your butt. And don't throw everything away.
Right.
See what's working here and there, but come back to it. And then the other part would be, I really do love Jubri for so many years. He was a great man. And, their student creed is knowledge of the mind, honesty of the heart, strength of the body. And I think that is, you need to be well-rounded.
Mm-hmm.
You can't just be that. Greatness comes from focus for sure. But at the same time, not everybody's going to rise to those levels of greatness. And I think balance works a little bit more for most people than myopic focus does for a rare few.
Cool. All right. I have a few fun questions to wrap it up here. Now, who are 3, 4, 5 names you would put on your personal Mount Rushmore of martial arts?
Well, Bruce Lee, I've got to do with that. Jewelry for me.
Nice.
He's there. Now, when I get into jiu-jitsu, the jiu-jitsu aspect of it, that's where I get I guess the obvious would be Helio would kind of be up there, but then I want to put Eddie Bravo up there as well.
Yeah.
So I don't know, maybe that is my 4. Yeah, it is.
That's a solid 4.
Yeah.
Have you ever got to roll with Eddie?
I never got to roll with Eddie, mainly because until recently I've outweighed him by a significant amount.
Okay.
And that's always the big man's dilemma, is finding other big dudes that you can comfortably roll with or finding uninjured little dudes who can take the weight of a heavyweight.
Okay.
Know? So I haven't rolled with him, but I have rolled with a lot of really good people. I went to there's a cybersecurity convention in Vegas every year called DEF CON.
Oh yeah.
And there's this.
It started as a hacker conference. I'm very aware of it.
Yes. So there's this guy from Silicon Valley. He's a CEO for I can't remember what company it is now, but his name's Jeremiah Grossman. And so he puts on a jiu-jitsu party, in coordination with DEF CON every year. And
Nice.
He calls it the Jiu-Jitsu Smackdown. And he brings in fighters and grapplers and from all over. So got to roll with Forrest Griffin, Frank Mir, Mike Pyle.
Wow.
At that one. And then throughout the years, I've actually just in March, I had a sabbatical from my job, and I took 3 weeks to just drive around the country and just go to different jiu-jitsu schools.
Oh, wow. Okay.
I trained with Brandon McCaffrey, Ryan Hall, Emil Fisher. The list goes on. Daisy Fresh, the Pedito Fight Systems. So yeah, and so that's what I really love about jiu-jitsu too, is that while there is sort of the protectionism that you find in a lot of martial arts schools, we have this culture, I guess, of open mats, right? And so almost every school has an open mat. I'll say every legitimate school. I think if you're not having open mats and you're not letting people cross train, there's probably something you're doing wrong. You shouldn't be scared of that. And so this open mat culture is awesome because you can just kind of walk in to any school and be like, hey, I'm here for the day. Can I train? I'm here, whatever. Can I train with you? Can I roll with you guys? And I think I've had 1 or 2 schools say no.
Wow.
Throughout the years. I mean, I've been to 22 different 10th planets alone. And so you can travel. And I would feel weird kind of going into like a typical Taekwondo school and just being like, hey, I'm in the town for the day. Can I just train with you guys tonight? Like that's not as part of the culture.
I've done that actually many times.
Well, and again, that's my personal experience.
Yeah. I get it. I know there's certain ones I just would never ask, even with Taekwondo, or like you said, a lot of it depends on the instructor.
Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, so that's, like I said, rolled with some amazing people throughout the years. And
that's cool. All right. Do you have a favorite martial arts book?
Well, the one that I've read the most would probably be the Tao Jiu-Jitsu.
Okay.
That would probably be up there. As I'm sitting here looking at my bookshelf, Eddie Bravo's Mastering the Rubber Guard, Mastering the Twister. I definitely refer to those often when I'm doing, rubber guard lessons and stuff like that. So, those would be up there as well.
Okay. How about a favorite martial arts video game?
Oh, I mean, all of them. I was really good. At one point in time, I knew like all the moves on Mortal Kombat 1.
Nice.
Like there's a Chuck E. Cheese or something like right down the street from my house, and I'd go over there and plop quarters in, and that. Street Fighter 2 is definitely another one.
Mm-hmm.
And then what was it? The Tekken.
I love Tekken.
So when I was in the Navy, when I was in the Navy, Tekken was right. Eddie Gordo, the capoeira guy.
Yep,
that was my dude back
nice.
then. Yeah,
that's awesome. All right. How about a favorite martial arts TV show?
Oh, TV show. So I watched Kung Fu, the first one, like as reruns.
Yeah.
Like when I was growing up in Nebraska, right after cartoons on Saturday, they would do Kung Fu. So that was probably very influential.
Okay.
But not TV show. I don't know. I can't. No other TV shows that come to my mind.
Do you watch any of the current ones? You ever watch Into the Badlands or Warrior or Cobra Kai?
Yes. Now that you're saying that. So yes, I did. I watched the first couple of seasons of Into the Badlands. I haven't gotten back into that. I definitely like the first couple of seasons of Cobra Kai. The martial arts and cheese factor has gone down and gone up towards the later seasons. But it's still, it's still fun.
It's fun. So. Okay. How about a favorite martial arts movie?
Well, Karate Kid. Yeah, I definitely. We went to the theater to see Karate Kid back in '84. Oh, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Nice. Okay.
I promise I won't do it now, but I can, from heart to this day, recite the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles theme song.
Really?
Yes.
That's actually kind of cool.
Partners in Crime, that one.
Yeah, that's awesome.
So, and now just bringing that back around is because of Master Bonita, I've actually got to meet several Ninja Turtles.
Yep.
And that's pretty awesome, you know.
I interviewed Stephen Ho a couple months ago. Donatello himself. So.
For sure. Yeah, Ernie Reyes was in Phoenix for a little bit, and that's when he introduced us. And that's, I mean, you know, that dude's a martial arts royalty.
Yeah. Oh yeah, definitely. Who's your favorite Ninja Turtle?
Well, I mean, my name's Don, so Donatello. I've got
okay. Got to represent.
I had a one company, Nawaza, that makes rash guards and stuff, and they made a turtle guard rash guard.
Nice.
And so I have the purple belt one, and I kept it even into my brown belt because I was like, well, I can get away with it. It's purple. I'm Donatello, you know. But once I got a black belt, I'm like, I should probably stop wearing purple rash guards.
Why? That's cool.
Well, being, you know, I ended up being the instructor, or, you know, the top guy rolling. And so I just want to put out that I'm a black belt. I'm a black belt here to teach, so that people aren't thinking that, you know, their classes are being taught by underbelts or stuff. I think there's a lot of value in black belts teaching most of the classes.
I get that. I know there was a friend I knew that he was a Kenpo guy in California. I think he actually might be in Texas or Arizona now, but he was 5th degree black belt, and he was known for wearing a pink gi when he went to tournaments. And people gave him crap, and he always won. So it was kind of cool.
You know, I mean, that's with the whole 10th planet. You know, we've taken the wind out of the sails of some of these overinflated martial arts guys, or especially jiu-jitsu guys. Is, you know, like, there's so many that, oh, you've got to wear this gi, and you got to, you know, do this, and you can only wear this, and meanwhile we have the loudest, you know, craziest psychedelic rash guards and shorts, and but then we're beating everybody. You know, we just went. I've been looking at their. I'm in a chat with most of the heads of various 10th planets, and the Nogi Worlds, IBJJF Nogi World is going on right now, and we have brought home so many medals, so many first places, and you know, there's a little bit of a fight that's been going on between 10th Planet and IBJJF for the last decade, because they're very stuffy and very, you know, I don't know, want to stay formal, and we're coming in and just knocking all that over. And even with some of the rules that they put against us and that kind of thing, we're still like, no, you're not going to get rid of us. So,
nice. That's good though. All right, I have a final martial arts type question. This one doesn't have to be a martial arts movie, just a favorite movie fight scene.
Well, the first thing that comes to mind is that first scene in The Matrix.
Yep.
I went to that opening night in Norfolk, Virginia, and we went to like the midnight showing, and you know, we didn't really know what was going on with that movie. Like, it was very kind of like, they didn't want to give away the plot, you know, during the trailer, so it was just very. But when Carrie-Anne Moss does that whole, I mean, the jumping crane kick or whatever you would call it, and they do the 360 around her, like the whole theater just erupted into gas. And so that's, and I mean, I guess anything Keanu Reeves anymore within the last decade or two, all the John Wick movies, Matrixes, like all that stuff. Those are my top for sure.
Okay, cool. Well, before I let you go, anything that I forgot to ask you, forgot to bring up that we want to be sure to get out there?
You know, the biggest thing right now is that we'll be opening 10th Planet Den within, or hopefully by Q1 of 2024. It's in the process. I'm so excited. Things have really fallen in place this last week. And,
that is awesome.
Our landlord is actually really hooking us up because he doesn't want to see a title loans or a check cashing store going to this spot. So,
okay.
So yeah, he's a big guy on the community, and so we've, you know, had a talk on what I want to do and how I want to help the community and bring jiu-jitsu to a bunch of angry young people to get that monkey brain working, you know. So
congrats and
Thank
good
you.
luck. And like I said, as soon as you got a link, send it my way and I'll add it to the podcast release. But I truly appreciate your time. This has been a blast. I'm glad Francis connected us.
Yeah, me too. Thank you so much.
Thanks for listening to Everyday Martial Artist. We hope you will join us every week for a brand new episode with a different martial artist telling their story. If you enjoy the show, be sure to leave us a review. Also, be sure to check out our website at everydaymartialartist.com. There you can find all of our episodes and contact us to suggest guests and ask questions. Again, thanks for listening to Everyday Martial Artist, and we'll see you next week.